Come one, come all, gather round for the Clash Royale League. Today's first match in the European region features Mat01 and SK Gaming, aiming to rebound from a tough loss last week. Across the bridge, a surging Team Liquid, led by Azelis and all-star Surgical Goblin. Let's get ready for battle!
Hello and welcome to Clash Royale League. I'm Rich Slayton. Joining me is Andrew Guy to walk you through Week 3 of action in the European region. Of course, things are heating up. Let's look at our standings.
Yeah, guys, we got Team Liquid here fighting for that top spot, trying to edge out Team Queso. These are the two teams known as the heaviest hitters in the EU. And then towards the bottom of the list, we got SK Gaming working their way up to the middle of the pack. It's Week 3. They're starting to hit their stride. I cannot wait to see where these guys end up at the end of the week.
Of course, all these teams vying for one of those top 4 spots to make it to the playoffs. The winner of the playoffs will represent Europe in the World Finals.
Absolutely, and you guys can follow along with all the action by subscribing to this YouTube channel, clicking on esports.clashroyale.com and going to the esports tab in-game.
For two teams, that journey continues today. Of course, Team Liquid surging towards the top of the standings, up against SK Gaming, looking to live up to their very talented roster.
Yes, SK Gaming switching it up a little bit. We're seeing Mythja make his CRL debut today. An assistant coach and a player that we weren't sure if we were going to see or not. Despite that 2v2 win last week, I like that they're changing it up.
And then, of course, across from them, you have Team Liquid with a fantastic roster.
Yeah, and the thing about these guys, you got some of the top 3 players in the entire world. They have the luxury of being able to always change up who's doing the 1v1, who's doing the 2v2, and we're back to Surgical and Diego. I know you guys watched the video, so did I.
Of course, one of the biggest stars in all of Clash Royale, with one of the most subscribed YouTube pages in the game, will be here today, and he is standing by. Christy St. John is here with Surgical Goblin.
Thanks, guys. Surgical Goblin, this is your 4th match, and you're going back to the original lineup. Is this a pattern? Are we going to see you in the 1v1 next week?
Maybe. I mean, we usually just switch it up. So maybe I might play a 1v1, but we try to keep it a secret.
Okay, and something a little bit unique. I was talking to Mythja from SK Gaming before the match, and I said I was going to be interviewing you, and he was like, oh, you're going to be interviewing the second best Dutch player. And I just wondered if you had a response to that.
We will see today.
You're up against him in the 2v2. We will. Yep. Back to you guys.
Surgical Goblin, ice cold as always. What a talented player. We'll see him in just a couple of moments. But first, let's review our match format.
Yes, guys, we're going to start off, as always, with our 2v2. It's a best of 3 set, followed by a 1v1, also best 2 out of 3. And then if necessary, we'll work our way to King of the Hill, my personal favorite format, but we'll describe that if necessary.
And of course, there are different ban cards for each set, active for all of the possible games, which we'll find out about soon. But to learn about the strategy today the teams are choosing, let's take a listen inside the war room.
Today is the day that we show them who we are, okay? One thing that I want you to know, there's no pressure. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because there's no pressure when we're doing something that we really want, you know? When we're playing for something that we really want. There's no shame or pressure in following our dreams, you know? You guys want to go to the World Championship, right? And today can be a day where we can help ourselves to reach that goal. And you know, they are acting cocky. They are thinking that we are the underdogs because they are who they are, and we know that. But that's their weakness. Because we're going to prove them today that we can beat them and show the world what SK Game is all about. You get it, guys?
Yeah, yes. 100%.
We all trust each other. We know what we did to prepare for today. So bring it to the stage and show who Morten is, who Mitty is, who Matt is. I hope we don't need you, but I'm sure that we can count on you too.
Yes.
Okay. Let's do it?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's follow our dreams. Let's go.
Let's go, boys.
On 3. 1, 2, 3. SK Gaming!
What did you ban in the 1v1?
I banned the Inferno Dragon.
And he banned?
3 Mosquito.
I think he might start with like Graveyard deck or something like this.
Graveyard or maybe the
P.E.K.K.A.
The P.E.K.K.A, yes.
Especially because like you are known for Golem deck, so maybe he can
Maybe he
try
can
to counter
think
it.
I'm gonna start with Golem.
Yeah, for the 2v2, Poison and Tornado is banned. So I think we can surprise them with a bait deck, and we are pretty good
sure
with
we'll do
it.
it, yes.
Yeah. Also, we got 15 wins in the challenge with it, so
We're good.
okay, let's go.
We're ready.
At 1, 2, 3.
SK
lose!
The teams have talked, but we're here to watch them play the game. So let's not wait any longer. Team Liquid and SK Gaming, send your 2v2 combatants into the arena.
Our 2v2 pairs making their way to the podium. A little bit of trash talk from both sides there in the war rooms.
Absolutely. I love the trash talk, calling Team Liquid cocky, and then Team Liquid with the SK lose chant, this is what I want.
And of course, we have new lineups for both sides on the time of SK Gaming, Mythja and Morten.
Yeah, these guys are a new team despite winning last week in their 2v2 match, or set, excuse me. Mythja's making his CRL debut. An assistant coach, I think he's going to do great.
And across from them, one more time, we see Diego B and Surgical Goblin, the same pairing from week number 1.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, again, have the luxury of changing things up, but Diego B and Surgical seem to be the strongest pair for Liquid in 2v2.
And they are on their way to take this thing down with the new ban cards. No surprises here, Andrew. We have Tornado and Poison.
Yeah, I think these should really be the two strongest bans. These should be the two bans that each team does. Sometimes we see a double up on Poison, but they're the strongest in the meta offensively and defensively because Graveyard is so powerful.
Mythja making his debut for SK Gaming, the CR Nations Netherlands representative, going up against his teammate, Surgical Goblin.
Yes, he says the second best of the Netherlands in the world. I love the trash talk, and I'm so excited here to hop into game number 1.
We are underway, the 2v2 set. Surgical Goblin and Diego B of Team Liquid at the top of your screen. At the bottom, SK's Mythja and Morten.
Thumbs up. They both know they're in each other's heads.
And a very interesting, making its debut here at Clash Royale League, it's the Royal Recruits.
Yes, a card that I was hoping we were going to see this week. We got a new balance update. Supercell is working so hard to keep this game as fair as possible, and I love the fact that the Royal Recruits are in the very first day of change.
And there we go. You can see now one of the changes, the Royal Recruits now easier to overload on one side or the other, seeing 4 on the left side here for SK.
And a bit of a damage increase on their end. And then on the top of the screen here, it looks like they're running some sort of log bait variation we've seen works very well because its cycle is so quick here in 2v2.
2v2 so far, Andrew, has been very heavy, a lot of big beatdown decks. We saw, of course, you mentioned the video, Diego B and Surgical Goblin playing that faster bait style deck, but this is the first time I think we've really seen something this quick on the board.
Yeah, it's very crazy to see these Royal Hogs paired with Royal Recruits. It's so many units getting to that tower. How do you stop it and still save your Elixir for an offensive push?
Interesting, the SK banned the Poison, even though you'd think that Tornado might have been the ban they were looking for, considering the deck they're running.
Yeah, and being able to pull those units at the King Tower would be super beneficial against this sort of log bait deck.
We're passing the halfway point of regulation time. So far, pretty even. No one out to a commanding lead. We're cycling a rocket now, getting both.
Nice.
That's beautiful, the Inferno Dragon and tower damage.
Absolutely. Those are the type of rockets that you need to hit. You gotta, if you're going to use a rocket in single Elixir, you got to hit the tower as well as a unit.
And now down to 975 as a left-hand tower of SK.
Oh, there it is, man.
Wow.
We got 20 units on the board for SK. How do you stop it? How do you stop it and use your Elixir efficiently?
So many cards, and here we go on both sides, a massive push.
That's tower.
It's nearly tower, but now we get the Goblin Barrel on the left-hand side, easily countered by that log, and a second one in its place.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of cycling their logs here at the top of the screen to make someone use their log on defense and then hit it again with another Goblin Barrel to make them use something like a Fireball, which is a negative Elixir trade, of course.
And now the right-hand tower for Team Liquid down to 127, inside range of all of our big spells. Could easily be spell cycled down. And the Royal Hogs picked up by the Tombstone. We've seen that play many times.
I love this. It appears that SK has got a strong advantage in this match. They just have too many units with too much health. The squishy units on the other side for Team Liquid are just not picking up enough damage.
Well, there you go, folks. The big question was, how might the update change the meta? How might it affect our play? And Royal Recruits makes not only its first, but its second place here in CRL 2v2. What a crazy development.
Yeah, to answer your question, a drastic difference. So we got, look at this. I mean, our replay is going to cover when you see SK Gaming with 20 units on the board. How do you defend that efficiently? I can't answer it yet. I don't know, and I don't think Team Liquid knows either.
Especially with both Poison and Tornado off, you know, it's really hard to gather those together. You know, when you're looking at those Royal Recruits, what do you think you do next time if they're on the board again?
We got to see a deck change up from Team Liquid here. Now that the Royal Recruits have proven to be so powerful, this is why I love that the meta is changing here at CRL. I don't really know the answer yet, and I hope that these guys are going to show us.
Well, game number 1 in the books, SK Gaming, the Netherlands players going head-to-head, and you have Mythja kind of living up to what he said he would do. Can Diego B and Surgical Goblin get it back in game number 2? And both teams now taking it a little slower, not the hot start we saw in game number 1. You know, you got to wonder if Diego and Surgical Goblin kind of took a look at that and said, okay, maybe let's go a little more traditional.
Yeah, not sure here, but I do see a lot more counters in hand in both of their decks to deal with something like a Royal Recruit's Hog Push, Valkyrie being the best defense for that.
And here we go, seeing golems on both sides of the board. The Night Witch, a pretty standard follow-up for the golem for SK. You know, we haven't seen a lot of that Executioner here in 2v2.
Yeah, the Executioner actually being an MVP of that play there, getting pushed back and stopping the Night Witch that was behind SK's Golem.
And here's a deck that we expected to see the Golem Graveyard combination. You know, we haven't seen the Freeze drop down, although that's been a big part of the 2v2 meta so far.
Golem Freeze is just so powerful, and everyone knows once you see a Golem and a Freeze, you're going to see also, or excuse me, whenever you see a Golem in a Graveyard, you're going to also see a Freeze. So SK with that in mind has to be very careful what units they drop to defend. You don't want ones that can just be picked off with something like a Zap.
And as we reach the midway point of regulation time, this time it is Team Liquid out to a slight but early lead. Although similar to our first game, could SK's Morton and Mythja come back and take this thing?
It's interesting. It's very frustrating for a Night Witch Golem push to meet a Golem Executioner push, killing all of those bats while hurting the Night Witch, because the Night Witch only does ground damage. I actually think that Team Liquid might have a slight advantage in this match.
Very interesting, too, to note that, Andrew, because one of the kind of theories so far about 2v2 developing amongst some of the competitive players is there isn't an inherent matchup advantage with decks because you have so many cards on the board, which is why some people are saying that this might become even the bigger or more competitive version of Clash Royale.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, honestly. I wasn't too sold on 2v2 in the beginning because I don't think I understood it. Now that I've watched these pros play, 2v2 is a beautiful art form of being patient and picking out the opponent's weaknesses and also working with your teammate.
Nice job picking up a lot of that graveyard damage on the right-hand side by SK, but unfortunately the damage is done down to 558 is that right-hand tower with just 30 seconds remaining in double Elixir regulation time.
It's crazy when you see one card making such a massive difference. That Inferno Dragon is just eating through SK Gaming's tanks, whether it's Baby Dragon or whether it's a Golem, and that gives them a strong advantage over SK because they don't have something that just eats through a tank. I mean, the Lumberjack is great, but it's not as strong as an Inferno Dragon.
Interesting note playing the high freeze there from Diego B and Surgical Goblin, stopping the push in its tracks and making pretty short work of an interesting clone play from SK.
Yeah, that freeze, sometimes you have to use it on defense, and these guys know exactly when they need to. It does hurt, obviously, your next offensive push, however.
But so far appears to have done its job holding that tower pretty close to its same hit points. And now we are in sudden death overtime, and Diego B and Surgical Goblin looking to be out to a slight lead, although the question is how do they deal with this particular Golem push? And there we go, we see a counter graveyard. Now it appears we are in a tower race.
Yes, absolutely, it's a tower race, and the reason is that Golem getting on the tower, one swing is going to do 400 something damage, or 300 damage. You get two swings on there with the death damage, that's game, but wow. Great job of Team Liquid by cycling through those spells knowing that impending doom was coming.
And there they go. They saw that the Golem was on the board. They knew they had enough Elixir to get the right-hand tower down. A great graveyard freeze play backed up with the Fireball. And then we see the Giant Snowball, one of the card that I'm so enjoying seeing here in 2v2. And now things are all even, 1-1. We are going to a third and final game in the 2v2 set to decide who will go into 1v1 with the advantage.
Yes, drastic changes in decks here in this set. I love that this 2v2 matchup is tied up. They came out and surprised them with the Royal Recruits. Team Liquid caught their footing, got their grounds, and came back and hit hard with a beatdown deck. Now, are we going to see more of the traditional meta, or are we going to see something else that is going to try to catch their opponent off guard?
That's the big question here, Andrew, and we will see here in just a moment. Team Liquid, of course, so good at switching things up.
Yeah, these guys can really do anything. Whether it's switching up the teams or whether it's switching up the decks, they are almost unbeatable.
And here we go, the third and final game of 2v2. Will it be Team Liquid taking the early lead in this match, or will SK Gaming get one step closer to evening their record in Clash Royale League?
You guys at home are watching. I'm going to not try to spoil anything for the players up there, but I know you see what is in Team Liquid's deck, and I am so excited to see how they utilize it.
The Baby Dragon played in the defensive position, doing a little bit of work, not going to take down the entire Mega Minion, but the tower will make short work of that as well.
I love the fact that we're getting new metas by these updates. Seeing the Royal Recruits come into the game based off of the change that was made a couple days ago, and we've got another one coming up soon. This is where the players have to stay on their toes, and the coaches have to continue to press them to find new decks.
And that really is what separates, I think, the great players from the players who are on their way to becoming great.
Absolutely.
Is the ability to adapt as the game evolves as well.
Yeah, as you realize, the best players in the world can basically succeed with any type of deck. Of course, they have their favorite archetypes, but if you're the best in the world, you need to be able to play with any deck and without any specific card.
Hold on, Andrew. Take a look at this. Diego B and Surgical Goblin taking a note out of their opponent's book, sending 12 Royal Recruits across the board.
Hey, man, if you can't beat them, join them. And Team Liquid took the note. I love seeing the Royal Recruits on the board, and they've got Royal Hogs in their hand.
This is going to be very interesting. Now, now we're getting to an interesting thing, because we've seen this deck on the top or something similar played already, and now SK's Morton and Mythja going with a more traditional 2v2 beatdown deck we've seen so far. This is going to be curious to see who gets the long-term advantage, especially with that Inferno Dragon in the hands of Team Liquid.
It's so tough for SK to break through here because the Royal Recruits actually do an absurd amount of damage to tanks. And on top of that, they've also got their Inferno Dragon. So I personally believe that SK is going to have a really, really tough time breaking through, but they've got to keep up the pressure so that Liquid cannot build this massive 2 Royal Recruits, 2 Royal Hog push.
Here we are in double Elixir time, and we saw a misplayed fireball on the right-hand side, leaving that flying machine up. That was a big moment here for Team Liquid and for Surf and for SK as well.
Anytime you miss a spell, it's worse than leaking Elixir, because not only did you just waste your Elixir, but you also have that card that you might need out of cycle, and an opponent is going to notice that and going to take advantage of it.
And there you go, Andrew. The Royal Recruits played in response to the Golem taking out, mixed with the Inferno Dragon. There is no place for that card to go.
Yeah, as I said a second ago, I just don't know how they're going to possibly break through. As you can see, they're actually doing a decent job. They have the damage lead. So maybe they're just going to chip away with the Golem, as weird as that might sound.
It's very possible they might just be able to play this thing out as we get into our sudden death overtime trying to... They've played the high Golem consistently here as opposed to in the back.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. We need that Golem to get to the tower as soon as possible for the death damage, because the Royal Recruits and the Inferno Dragon are going to cut it in half. So as long as it can do what it's doing right now, they are succeeding.
Oh, look here on the left-hand side, though, Andrew. It is the Royal Hogs making their way quickly to the tower, doing some significant damage. At the same time, though, in the top right corner, you see it's that Golem and the Night Witch doing damage down to 359.
We are within spell cycles here. If we get a fireball down, a couple fireballs down, we've got the game here, but they need to use it defensively. SK doing a great job of playing defense, but Liquid also keeping up the pressure so that they can't be spell cycled out.
And it's the Royal Recruits played right at the line trying to get to the tower, doing some damage, but SK Gaming certainly in control at the moment. Can they get their spells onto that right-hand tower in time, or will Diego B and Surgical Goblin keep enough pressure on to keep them in the game?
That fireball going down is going to be the game.
There we go, double.
Wow. Wow, and you hear the celebration here in the studio. SK Gaming is ecstatic.
Double fireball to close it out. You know, they knew at that moment they could get it down before those Royal Hogs did their dirty work, and that is it. SK Gaming's Mythja and Morton taking the 2v2 set off of Diego B and Surgical Goblin, two of the top players in the world.
We talk about saving those spells for defense despite knowing you only need 2 fireballs to take that tower. That is what a pro does. Us amateur players, we get excited. We see something in double spell range and we go for it. We would have lost that match. They didn't. Patience pays off.
And there you go, your winners in 2v2. Morten once again showing why he is so good in this set. Mythja, the Netherlander, making his debut in CRL in exciting fashion.
Yeah, despite how we may have thought today was going to start and maybe how you guys thought today was going to start, SK takes the first set in 2v2, beating Surgical and Diego B, honestly, who I thought may have been, despite Colton and Razor in the NA, maybe the best 2v2 players that we see here at CRL.
Next up, 1v1, and when it comes to playing Team Liquid, you might win 2v2, but it seems like it's always out of the frying pan and into the fire, because now you have to go up against another one of the best players in the world in Azelis.
Azelis is known to basically have ice running through his veins. The guy is unflappable, and this is a big match for Matt coming in. He's not as established of a player. I don't know if that's going to get in his head, but I do know SK is riding high on confidence after that win.
Can SK close it out, or will Team Liquid send us to King of the Hill? Let's get into 1v1.
Wow, this next part is going to be really good. Trust me, I know. It's time for a 1v1 showdown. Lights, camera, battle!
And making his way to the podium for SK Gaming, a guy we have seen a lot in King of the Hill. Here now in 1v1 is Matt01.
Yeah, losing to Canario on day 2 when Canario went on that crazy run. Matt01 trying to redeem himself. And on the other side, we've got Azelis here representing Team Liquid, always changing up their lineup. He really can't do any wrong, and I am excited to see if he plays something like a control deck today, if we're going to see a beatdown. Who knows?
We'll take a look at our card bans, and interesting, I think the first time being banned, maybe the second, is the 3 Musketeers across from the Inferno Dragon.
3 Musketeers, such a powerful card when used correctly. I think it coupled with Royal Recruits or Royal Hogs makes it a deadly combo. So I think, because you drop the Royal Recruits in the back, by the time they get up to the front, you can drop 3 Musketeers behind it. So I think they're trying to keep them off of the board. Inferno Dragon, it eats tanks. I don't think we need to say more than that.
And we are off. Team Liquid's Azelis at the top of your screen, and at the bottom representing SK is Matt01.
Yes, despite what some of us may have thought coming in, SK taking that very first set, moving into 1v1. Will they sweep? I don't know.
And we see a log cycled for Matt01 and a Royal Ghost in the back for Azelis.
Royal Ghost coupled with Mega Minion could mean some sort of graveyard deck. It could also mean a weird bridge spam deck, but I'm thinking it could be graveyard.
And so far, just a little bit of battle here at the bridge. No one doing anything significant. Of course, now a log in response from Azelis, taking off those shields of the guards.
I spoke too soon, clearly, because I have no idea what either of these guys are running.
Well, now we see a Poison down trying to take down some of that Magic Archer. It will be within range to be easily handled by the tower. It will get one shot off. That Magic Archer, though, one of the favorite cards of our high-level players.
Yes, I love the beginning of matches because you really see these pros feeling each other out, and they're going to try to expose each other's weaknesses over the next minute 45 here of regulation. Royal Hogs making their appearance, a bit of a nerf in this last update, but still very, very powerful.
And here we see the graveyard now coming from SK Gaming's Matt01 on the right-hand side. Is this really a traditional graveyard setup you see from Matt?
Not at all. I mean, the Mega Minion, yes. The Ice Golem, yes. But everything else in there kind of breeds a Hog Cycle deck, maybe? I'm not sure. It's an odd variation.
And now we have the Royal Hogs in response from Azelis, knowing he had the Elixir advantage and getting significant damage on both towers.
Yeah, it appears that Matt might have overcommitted with that graveyard there. It looked like it might have been something for him to take a lot of damage. I think he misread the situation, and Azelis took advantage and exposed that Elixir deficit.
Now, Andrew, usually with graveyard decks, there is something to kind of take to distract away from the graveyard play, whether it's a mid-level tanking card to take some of that damage from the tower, or you might see graveyard freeze. Of course, we see the poison already. How do you think Matt's going to play this graveyard as we get into double Elixir time?
It's going to be really tough for him, honestly. He's only got 2 cards with substantial health to tank for that graveyard in the Ice Golem and the Mega Minion, but even then, they're not that tanky. this deck matchup and composition, I don't believe is going to be a favor for Matt here.
And we have still 2 cards to remain for Azelis. Still, so far, doing great work. The Royal Hogs and the Royal Ghost, and the Magic Archer. So many cards that he's using to great effect.
Finally breaking through there with the Graveyard. That Mega Minion lasted a lot longer than I thought it was going to, and I think a lot longer than Azelis thought it was going to. We're actually kind of close to even here.
We are about to head into sudden death overtime, and there we go from Azelis. We see the P.E.K.K.A. this time played right at the bridge.
Yeah, now we're in a place of knowing that this is going to be a 1-tower win. Whether it's going to be the right or the left, you have to always decide whether or not you want to defend one or just push in the other lane.
Great play there from Matt. You saw that the Magic Archer had target on the tower, putting the Mega Minion down, distracting its attention, and stopping it from doing damage.
Yeah, as OJ would say, the power of geometry. That Magic Archer can be lined up in such a weird place and still hit your tower, and it does substantial damage.
And we are now into that sudden death overtime, and the Royal Hogs making a rush at the tower. The Inferno Tower doing a decent job distracting. You have to have support. Of course, we saw, oh no, will we get all the way through? The Royal Hog can get down to 6. There's the log.
Right there.
That is it. Azelis putting a stamp on this win. You know, he's a bit of a gambler. He loves the casinos, and you saw him take some risks here, and they paid off.
Absolutely, making some big risks, but also playing pretty patiently there with his Lightning, knowing that that Lightning needed to be used for the Inferno Tower. As we're seeing in this replay, you can't just Lightning a tower when it's by itself. It's too much of a negative Elixir trade. You've got to get a unit in there ideally, but definitely a building when you're playing Royal Hogs.
All it took was one of those Hogs to escape and do its dirty work, getting the tower down within log range, and now Azelis is 1 game away from tying this thing up and sending us to King of the Hill.
Yes, moving us to King of the Hill would be fantastic, but he's still got 1 more game to win in this set. Can he do it? Will Matt come back and have the sweep against Team Liquid for SK? I don't know. It'd be crazy. It'd be a crazy way to start our day.
Matt is very capable of a reverse sweep, and we'll see if he does that right here, right now. And a reminder about those ban cards, 3 Musketeers and Inferno Dragon still active for all of the potentially 2 remaining games of this 1v1 set.
Yeah, I have a feeling that that's why that Inferno Tower peaked in the last match. However, he might have kept it because he wanted something that would pull Royal Hogs.
And again, a cycled log early, a little bit of chip damage. And the minions played on the right-hand side behind the Princess Tower.
Minions are such a good counter for something like a Graveyard because they last a little bit longer in a poison. They're not zappable, and honestly, arrows haven't been used much at all in competitive gameplay.
And the log, a second log takes the shields off the guards. So far, a little slower start here from both players.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be seeing some sort of bridge spam variation on the bottom, and then on top it's going to be either that Ice Wizard control that we've seen, and now with the Tombstone, we got to think it's going to be Graveyard on top against bridge spam on bottom. Who has the actual matchup advantage? Not sure, but I do know Azelis just made a mistake, and so does everyone else in the room.
And on the left-hand side, the Tower of Azelis down to 1398. The Ice Wiz so powerful, but not doing quite enough to save that tower in this moment.
This is one of those instances I was talking about last game where you just got to let stuff do damage on your tower, eat the damage so you can get back your Elixir advantage.
And there we go, a decent, very nice fireball actually played by SK to stop those Royal Hogs on the right-hand side. You know, we're still seeing them a lot, even though the slight decrease in their attack speed.
Yeah, they're still such a powerful card. Azelis here has all of the answers, though, for that P.E.K.K.A. Whether it's going to be his Tombstone, whether it's the Ice Wizard, or the Cannon Cart, it's going to be a really, really tough match for Matt to break through and get to that tower. But he does it again. That flying machine is so nefarious. You don't know where it is. You don't know if it's close enough to hit the tower or not. Wow, great play.
So the P.E.K.K.A. commonly a response to a big tanky card or, of course, the Hog Rider. When you're looking at Matt's deck, Andrew, how do you see him responding to these Royal Hogs? Is it just going to be Fireball?
I think the best way for him to do it is by getting those guards and the minions down, as you saw there. Using the Fireball is nice, but he might want to save that to get rid of the Tombstone for his counter push, especially because he has, bridge spam.
The Battle Ram getting across, taking, again, you saw the Tombstone, and just as you talked about it, the Fireball getting out of the way would have been fantastic. But now he might use that Fireball here, again, in response to those Royal Hogs, but you see one Hog escape on the left-hand side, and we just saw how dangerous that can be.
Yeah, the deck building here by Azili is great synergy. We call it bait decks. So he's got a deck here that's baiting out Fireball. You want to use that Fireball on maybe the Mega Minion, maybe the Ice Wizard crossing a tower, but definitely on that Tombstone and on the Hogs. So many things to pick between. It's keeping Matt guessing and keeping him on his toes.
As we move into sudden death overtime,
wow.
We saw the prediction Fireball, but it didn't hit anything. That might be a 4 Elixir, just used it for absolutely nothing in this moment.
Yes, and you know exactly what Matt was going for. He was going for the predictive play on the Tombstone, but as you know, whether it's a Miner, whether it's an Inferno Tower, or whether it's a Tombstone, you want to change up where you place it every single time. These guys are pros. They're watching everything that you do, and they're paying attention to it.
We are now into sudden death overtime. Azili's 1 game, 1 tower away from sending this to King of the Hill, but his left-hand tower now down to 511 in significant danger.
Really wishing that cannon cart died on the other side of the river, demanding a response out of the guards, just a little bit more Elixir than he wanted to commit.
And cycling the log on the right-hand side, looks like maybe Azili is just trying to get that tower into slightly easier range, this time doing a good job, though, of picking up that ramp.
Got the double counter push here coming across the lane. It's going to take a lot of Elixir for Matt to defend, and that cannon cart is really, really healthy. It's on the tower.
It gets all the way through despite a slight range and reduction in range, still such a dangerous card. And now it's Matt having to defend both lanes here against Azili's, who really only has 1 tower in danger.
Azili's here keeping up the pressure in the opposite lane, now making Matt focus on the lane he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to allocate troops to the right side of the map.
And the Flying Machine meets the Ice Wiz at the bridge, but it's another Royal Hog push on the right-hand side. Doesn't get any damage. The Fireball and Minions doing their job together. And here we go. Will the Ram on the left-hand side get through? No. The Tombstone gets down in time.
Once again, that Tombstone being such a pain for Matt, and the cannon cart played beautifully to kite those units away from that tower. This is just top-level expert gameplay we're seeing from both players.
And we'll see if this Hog push can get through. 3 Hogs making it to the tower on the left-hand side. Will they do enough? Can the Wizard stop it? And we poison on the right-hand side. Looks like that is going to be it. And there you go. Team Liquid's Azili's taking game number 2, sweeping the set, and sending us to King of the Hill.
Doing what he does best, playing under pressure. He is always cool, calm, and collected, like I said, and he did a great job of keeping up pressure in both lanes, making it so that Matt could never commit to a true counter push in the lane that he wanted to commit to.
And you saw Azili's really looking like he was in trouble earlier in this game with his tower getting hit over and over and over again. But as you said, Andrew, the importance of going both lanes, forcing Matt to defend on both sides, that seems like it was the key to victory here.
Yes, Azili's taking that set, moving on to King of the Hill. And the thing is, if you keep dual lane pressure up, your opponent is always uncomfortable, and he did a great job of exposing that.
And now the sets are all even, and we are on our way to King of the Hill. To remind you of that format, each team fields 3 players. Each player gets 1 life. The first team to eliminate all 3 players from the other side wins the set and wins the match. And of course, there will be a new set of ban cards, which neither team knows yet. So that's a big part of our strategy as we go into King of the Hill. Right now, both teams are in their war room, setting their lineups, figuring out those ban cards. Let's take a moment and listen in.
For King of the Hill, okay, we're doing great. We came so far already, and we already have experience on King of the Hill. And we know the mistakes that we did in the past, against Dignitas, for example, and we know what we can do better today, okay? So for King of the Hill, for me, the order will be first Flobby, second Matt, and third Morton. Flobby for sure. He wants to redeem himself from what happened against Dignitas. Yeah. I know you guys have the strength right now. You know, we're all that we did today is already amazing. But you know what? Now we need to give the final step. Like Neil Armstrong in the moon, you know? Mm-hmm. 1 small step for me, 1 big step for the mankind, you know? So let's give that step today, like he did, and let's take it home and send them home. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Let's go.
All right, so for King of the Hill, Azilis, you played the 1v1, so you're going to be last.
Yep.
So you need to take a break. Serge, you said you wanted to go first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put you first, and I'll just go second. I think
Sounds
that's
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So first,
Surgical Goblin.
Sergi.
Surgical.
Me.
Surgical.
There you go.
And then 3 Azilis.
Put my star, put my star.
Okay,
Let's go.
let's go. That is pretty good.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do this.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go, boys.
Can do it.
The teams have locked in their lineups, and now there's no turning back. 3 brave combatants on either side. But who will remain standing? Who will be king of the hill? Honestly, I have no idea. Well, let's find out, shall we?
Very different approaches in the war rooms for these two teams. SK Gaming trying to get fired up. Team Liquid, again, ice cold. They've been here before. But talking about being here before, leading off for SK Gaming, coming off the bench from 2v2 is Flobby.
Yeah, Flobby here, really excited for this matchup, and I'll tell you exactly why. At GamerG last year, he beat Pompeo, he beat Sergio Ramos, and he took second place to who? None other than Surgical Goblin. So today is going to be a day of redemption, hopefully, for Flobby. And then on the other side of it, we've got Surgical Goblin, who clearly took first at GamerGY last year, and is trying to make it that Flobby knows he can never go toe-to-toe with Surge.
Surge taken first at a lot of different tournaments, of course, very decorated. Let's look at these card bans. Royal Hogs being banned from SK Gaming, no surprise. Now, interesting note here, though, with Team Liquid banning Inferno Dragon.
Yeah, very surprising. Flobby is known as one of the best, if not the best golem player in the entire world. Liquid almost doing him a favor by taking that Inferno Dragon off the table. You would think that the bans would be switched, actually, but who knows? Liquid's got something in their game plan, but Flobby is really happy to see that Inferno Dragon off the table.
So the GamerG Finals rematch, will it be Flobby getting redemption and starting his team off great here in King of the Hell, getting the first of those hopefully 3 victories, or will Surgical Goblin put a stamp on this matchup? And the first game of a potential 5 underway here in King of the Hill. Surgical Goblin of Team Liquid at the top of your screen, Flobby at the bottom.
You know these guys remember exactly the way they felt when their last match ended. Flobby walking away with the loss and Surge with the victory. Let's see how they match up today.
An early well played from Surge and a thanks in response from Flobby. So far, very nice manners from both players.
Absolutely. They are trying to feel out each other at the beginning of the game, as we always do. Probably a beatdown deck coming from Flobby. It's what he's familiar with, and you never want to be the first one to play a card. Although we're seeing Ice Wizard, one of the strongest cards in the game in the new meta.
Ice Wiz in the back. Surgical Goblin letting him get his Elixir back to 10. A response now with the Baby Dragon.
Baby Dragon is usually found in Golem decks, and here with Ice Wizard and Mega Minion played by Flobby, I'm actually thinking it's going to be more of a graveyard deck.
And now with the Night Witch, you're expecting that's going to be behind a Golem potentially as we get closer to the Elixir. And you called it right, the Graveyard deck. Andrew, as you see a Golem beat down against Graveyard, of course, we haven't seen a lot of the cards yet, but who do you think early on has the matchup advantage?
Well, based off of this interaction right here, it's going to be Surge at the beginning of the game. Obviously, things can change, but he's got a great push with that Golem. A Night Witch behind it is going to demand a lot of Elixir from Flobby to respond to.
And the Cannon Cart coming in behind it as well. You got the Tombstone down, but made quick work of with the bats. Will the Cannon Cart get a lock? Yes, wow. It does. Huge damage on the left-hand side. Surgical Goblin, I think he's going to get tower early on, and that is it. It's down. We are approaching double Elixir time. Surgical Goblin, like I said, putting a stamp on this rivalry.
Yeah, a misuse of the Tombstone and the Mega Minion right there at the river, being able to be picked off by Surge, and a massive counter push with that Cannon Cart, Golem, and Mega Minion, and now he is just letting the BMs flies. He's just getting in his head.
Just as we were talking about the wonderful manners to open up this match, Surgical Goblin takes the early tower and lets Flobby know who's boss.
I mean, we like to think our competitors don't like to BM each other too much, but hey, if you've got the game in the bag, you might as well keep the pressure on.
Now, of course, Graveyard can take a tower down so quickly, but with Poison in his deck, you got to think at this point, even with 40 seconds left, Surgical Goblin has this thing tied up.
There's no way Surge loses this unless there's no way. There's absolutely no way. He's going to save the poison every single time for the graveyard, like he said, in the 30 seconds till he takes this very first game.
And there we go. We are just 25 seconds left. At this point, Surgical Goblin in command of this matchup. The Golem just being too much, sliding the cannon cart through. Flobby had no answer, and that's going to be it, folks. Unless somehow he doesn't have a response to this graveyard, and there it is, the poison. That's going to be good game. And the Grr from Surgical Goblin taking down the first opponent of SK Gaming, putting his team just 2 wins away from getting their 3rd victory in the European region.
Just top of the line gameplay there from Surge, picking apart his weaknesses with that Golem. This very first push, a lot of Elixir allocated to try to defend, but not in the right way. Those bats getting on top of the Mega Minion makes it useless, and then his Mega Minion in response, too much Elixir left on the field, not enough to defend. Great play by Surge there.
And next up for SK Gaming, coming off a very challenging 1v1 match against Azelis, is Matt01.
Yeah, you got to wonder if Matt is in his head about this. It's always tough to lose, but as we know in Clash Royale, it happens a lot. Whether you're ladder grinding or in a challenge, you can lose at any moment. Those beatdown decks are brutal when you make a misplay, though.
Andrew, we did see some unorthodox deck selection from Matt in the 1v1 competition. Do you think he goes more traditional here in King of the Hill?
I think it would be best for him to do that, but we're going to find out right now.
Game number 2, can Matt01 right the ship and take down the global #1 in Surgical Goblin, or will Surge continue to run through SK Gaming?
The whole team of Team Liquid with ice running through their veins, as we've talked about. Surge also just swept, or just took the first game. He's got to be feeling great.
And a miner on the tower, picked up pretty nicely though by not just the Ice Spirit, but the Electro Whiz.
Yeah, I see a Mega Minion and, a Giant. So this could be that Giant Balloon combo deck coming from Matt01. And also with Surge here, he's got a great counter to the Giant with the P.E.K.K.A. and a great counter to the Miner with the Electro Whiz. He is also throwing up the Gurface because he knows he's got a massive matchup advantage.
And a reminder, the Inferno Dragon, one of our 2 ban cards here in King of the Hill, also along with the Royal Hogs.
This was a great, efficient use of Elixir here. He's going to take down the Giant, the Hunter, and the Knight, and have a counter push.
And here we see the Prince making an appearance. A slight adjustment here, up in hit points by 5%. A little more durable, but not enough to stand in the way of a P.E.K.K.A.
Yeah, as I talked about before, the Prince you saw with its dash changing, or its charge up, changing back to a longer time for charge up, it kind of came out of the meta. That Giant double Prince deck was huge. Now with the boost in hit points, maybe we'll see it work its way back in.
And miners from both players. Surgical Goblin, though, getting his on the tower, taking the left-hand one down to 1744.
And as I said before, that Electro Wizard by Surgical Goblin is going to be used every single time to pick up that Miner. It can mitigate all damage every single time. And with a deck like this, that Miner with a P.E.K.K.A. against, wow.
But hold on, Andrew,
wow.
Look at this. A Giant getting all the way through to the tower. Surgical Goblin just didn't have the Elixir in his hand, and that is it. As we approach double Elixir time, it is Matt01 out to a huge lead.
Yeah, an incredible use of catching someone out of their cycle, knowing that that P.E.K.K.A. was just used by Surge and playing that Giant very aggressively. Took a tower, and this could be game. You do not want to be in this position as Surgical Goblin.
Nice distraction on the Bandit with the guards from Matt01. SK Gaming looks like he's shored up some of those mistakes that he made in the 1v1 set.
Matt knows right now that if he keeps the pressure on the right lane, Surge has to continue to allocate Elixir to defend it, not being able to get a push on that left tower. So if he defends for 27 more seconds like this, it's going to be game.
And Surgical Goblin knows it, throwing up the well-played. Nice cleanup work from Matt. You know, you gotta like that adjustment, playing some off-meta stuff in the 1v1 set. Here, going a little more traditional with the Giant deck. Not one that you see a ton of times, but it's paying off for him in this moment.
Yeah, the Giant and the Knight coupled together are fantastic. So the Knight can give that Giant a ride to the tower. Maybe it's going to make its way back into all the Giant decks.
So Giant Prince working together well for Matt, taking down Surgical Goblin. But of course, let's take a look at that replay. And this was it. You can see the Elixir counter, 0 for Surgical Goblin. Totally out of cycle, nothing available in response. And the tower goes down very quickly. And I think at that point, he knew he was in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, Matt recognized the Elixir deficit in Surgical, sent in the Miner on the opposite tower to make Surge respond with the Electro Wizard at a massive Elixir deficit, then pushed the Giant aggressively with that Mega Minion and took the tower.
So Matt takes down one of the best in the world, but of course, you're up against Team Liquid, so who's next? Another one of the best in the world, undefeated actually at CR Worlds. Let's say World one more time, and that's Diego B.
Yeah, Diego B, a big fan of the Three Musketeers card, also a master of the Graveyard. No idea what he's going to be bringing today, but loving the Three Musketeers, and with Royal Recruits getting that buff, maybe we'll see that.
Team Liquid and SK now, each with just 2 players remaining in their stable. Diego B at the top of your screen, Matt 0-1 at the bottom.
Yeah, trading blows here, moving into the 3rd game of King of the Hill. Let's see what we got. When I see Ice Golem, I think Graveyard.
Ice Golem in the back and an aggressive Royal Ghost right at the river, but that should be made short work of there with the Mini P.E.K.K.A.
Yeah, great use of the Royal Ghost there. I love that card. It demands a response from the opponent. Now he cannot push the right lane that he wanted to.
And we see a Hog Rider on the right-hand side, a card that pretty much everyone in the entire Clash Royale world loves. Hasn't been as popular here in CRL as some of you might hope.
Yeah, I think the Hog Rider actually kind of got replaced by its cousin, the Royal Hogs, and I always like seeing the Hog come back. Like you said, it's a staple of Clash Royale.
Look at how fast Matt's deck is, really cycling that Hog Rider quickly. And the other nice part about that, he can get that Mini P.E.K.K.A. back onto the board for defense so quickly.
Yeah, an incredibly fast cycle deck here is going to be a hard match for Diego B. The bridge spam is really strong, but Matt has so many quick answers, he's probably not going to get caught on his heels here.
And the Princess, a card that we did a survey of our players before the league actually began, and across the board, Princess was probably the single most popular card for all the pros.
Yeah, the Princess is so powerful in this game. She demands a response at the river. You can't ever leave her alone. I actually love the deck that Matt's playing right now. I think I won one of my very first Classic challenges with it. The Hog Rider is all you use for offense, and then defensively, that Mini P.E.K.K.A. can cut through anything, coupled with the Princess. A very, very powerful deck.
So low cost, so hard to stay up with, and you're seeing the results right now. Matt 0-1 getting the right-hand tower of Diego B down to 1130, but we are approaching double Elixir time. What kind of surprises might the Team Liquid representative have in store?
Yeah, Diego's going to need to figure out something to change up his gameplay, because that Battle Ram and the Lumberjack and the Royal Ghost are all going to get cut in half by that Mini P.E.K.K.A. Such a powerful stop.
Now, very interesting, Andrew. We do see the pump just got dropped and taken care of course, on the left-hand side. What might that final card be with the pump now mixed in with what appeared to be pure bridge spam?
Three Musketeers. 100%, it's got to be Three Musketeers, and there we see it coming down. You see a pump, you see a Battle Ram, you think Three Musketeers. The Lightning, again, used by Diego B and Team Liquid earlier on by Azelis, getting a slight buff in damage here, maybe making its way back into the meta as well.
Lightning up 5% in damage. And so we've seen it now be used very effectively. The bridge spam push of Diego B not going to make the tower so far. Not only great cards played in front, but there you see the Princess as well, cleaning stuff up from the back.
An incredible amount of Elixir used by Diego B. He knows if that didn't break through, nothing will. So now it's just a game of getting that Hog Rider to the tower a couple more times, a Lightning in. It's going to be game, set, and, well, not match yet, but game for SK Matt.
So Matt, there we go. The Lightning hits, like we said, has been making a resurgence now here in the 1v1. We saw it in 2v2 as well. And here we go, that final push just getting stuck there at the river.
Yeah, exactly what we're talking about. He uses the Mini P.E.K.K.A. to cut the Battle Ram in half, eat through those Barbarians and the Lumberjack, and the Princess is just hanging out in the back, getting rid of the Zappies and everything else in there, doing a ton of damage.
But let's not start hanging medals around Matt 0-1's neck quite yet. Of course, taking out 2 Giants in Surgical Goblin and Diego B. But there is one more remaining, the Frenchman number 8 in the world, second place at King's Cup 2, and that is Azelis.
Yeah, Azelis has got to have a ton of confidence coming into this match, pulling off the reverse sweep and bringing Team Liquid into King of the Hill. I know that confidence and momentum are huge factors in this game, and he's got it. Now, SK on the other side, they've got a good feeling coming into this. They just won. However, Team Liquid is the favorite here, so SK's got to feel the pressure.
It's a lot of pressure here, and remember, we just saw these two go head-to-head in the 1v1 set. Azili's taking a very commanding sweep, so you got to wonder here, has Matt recovered mentally from that matchup? What does he have in store here for King of the Hill? And one more time, your band cards, Royal Hogs and Inferno Dragon. Team Liquid's Azili's at the top of your screen, Matt01 at the bottom.
Ideally, I would love to see Matt run a more meta deck, or maybe just a deck that has better synergy.
And the Fireball does pick up the Princess and get the damage on the left-hand tower. And again, it looks like we're seeing Matt run back the same deck that just worked so well for him against Diego B.
Yeah, really interesting interaction there. He knew that that Fireball was a slight Elixir, a negative Elixir trade for him. Obviously, you always want to Fireball the Princess when it's by a tower, but Matt, seeing that, knew that he could go hard and heavy in the right-hand lane.
And so a slight lead from the SK representative, Matt, now getting the right-hand tower down to 2130 and cycling his Princess once more in the back.
Yeah, just a fun fact for you guys to know at home. If you're going to cycle your Princess in the back, always play it in the lane opposite of the tower that your opponent is going for. That way, he can't get spell value off of whether it's a poison or a fireball, anything like that.
And we're seeing the Giant Prince combination. Again, the Prince charge is not going to be able to push the Giant forward, but it does take care of most of that Hog Rider push. And now again, another combination you might love at home, the Magic Archer behind the Giant.
Yeah, incredible play of the Magic Archer there to actually pick off the minions, making Matt have to respond with more than he wants to. And also, those minions were kind of a waste of Elixir. That Prince got to the Princess.
That Magic Archer at just 4 Elixir really doing more than it cost, cleaning the way out for the Giant, now getting on the tower. And now we have Azili's, the Frenchman, in the lead here as we approach double Elixir time. The right-hand tower of Matt01 down to 896.
Those micro interactions are so imperative in this match. That Prince not getting taken out by the minions because of the Magic Archer made it so that that tower is now in triple digits.
And the Hog Rider making another run at the left-hand tower, switching lanes, very traditional for a Hog Rider deck. The Prince mitigating most of that damage, but then getting cleaned up at the river by the minions.
Yeah, another fun fact for you at home, despite how much you've committed throughout the match to one or another tower as a Hog Rider player, you never want to play your Hog Rider into the same lane that your opponent's pushing, because now he can defend and get a massive counter push.
And there you see, like you said, Andrew playing the Princess in the opposite lane from where the push is taking place, requiring that response. And now we're in a little bit of a tower race here. The Giant trying to get to the tower on the right-hand side. No, but then, of course, the Night Witch takes care of the Hog Rider. So as we are getting closer to sudden death overtime, Azili's and Matt01 pretty close on these towers.
Yeah, Azili's has got to be frustrated. He felt like he had the advantage early on, but keeping the pressure on the opposing lane has got to be super frustrating for him. And this is actually bringing it so much closer than I ever thought it was going to be at the top of this match.
Andrew, take a look at the way that Mega Minion was played, making the Magic Archer not line up with the tower. So while it does support, now we might actually get on the tower here, and the Mega Minion, so the Mini P.E.K.K.A. will again take it down, and that's 2 really great plays of the Mini P.E.K.K.A. back-to-back from Matt01.
Yeah, great use of the Mini P.E.K.K.A. and even better use of the Ice Golem to protect the Mini P.E.K.K.A. to cut that Giant down. This could be game for Matt. Unbelievable change. Wow.
That is it. Matt01 playing the hero here after losing in 1v1. He clutches it for SK Gaming, taking out 3 of the best players in the world back-to-back-to-back.
That lightning is so powerful. As you see, this very first push by Azili's made it seem like he had control of the game for the rest of the match. Matt, thinking on his toes, swapping lanes, keeping up the pressure, made it so Azili's had to play out of his comfort zone for the entire remainder of the game.
Traditional, perfect Hog Rider play, but I think the real hero in this matchup is that Mini P.E.K.K.A. we saw earlier. If you get a chance to take a look at that at home. We saw him play it to defend the Giant, but playing it just off-center because he knew the Magic Archer was there, drew the Magic Archer away from shooting at the tower, and that slight difference might have been the entire thing, and there you go. SK Gaming taking the victory on the back of Matt01. Someone get him some icy hot. That thing's got to be sore. A bit of a shocking upset, you might say, for some of you out there in the Clash Royale world, moving SK Gaming just a little bit up those standings.
And moving Team Liquid just a little bit down in ranking in the sense that they are now even. SK moving up to 5th place. Team Liquid still at the top, but not probably with the record they want. No one wants to be batting 500.
Well, SK Gaming happy to be at 500 now, just one slot away from those all-important top 4 spots. Of course, those top 4 teams going to the playoffs to compete for a chance to represent Europe in the World Finals. And up next, 2 more teams will be trying to put their stamp on this thing, Misfits versus Dignitas.
Misfits having a tough start here at CRL EU, hoping to get that very first win. Let's see what they can do against Team Dignitas, a very strong team coming off of a win.
IMJP, of course, showing off for his team. Can he do it once more? We'll find out right now.
Sound the trumpets, throw your confetti. It's time for match 2. On one side of the river, Team Dignitas, riding high behind IMJP. Across the bridge, Misfits Gaming, still on the hunt for their first CRL victory. Will today be the day? Let's get to the arena!
2 more teams looking to make their way up the standings here in the European region, Misfits and Team Dignitas.
Yes, if we hop into the standings here, you'll see that Misfits is the only team in the EU that has yet to claim a W. Team Dignitas 2 slots above them, still getting their feet wet in this tournament. Really excited to see if Misfits can get that first win today.
A little challenge for Dignitas in their first match, but their second match, of course, riding high on the back of IMJP. But of course, they have a fantastic roster filled with great players.
Yes, they absolutely do. You got Wonka, Max Lamanas, Messi 10, and IMJP. And as we've said many, many times, IMJP is feeling very well. What's interesting here is Wonka and Max Lamanas playing 2v2. Really excited to see how they do today together, not being able to claim a game last week.
And of course, across from them, Misfits, we have seen some fantastic play. Not getting the victory yet, but a little adjustment getting that one guy into 2v2.
Yeah, moving Drege over to 1v1, and I believe that is because they probably feel he's maybe a little bit stronger. Now, that's no slight on these 2 players that are representing them in the 2v2. You still got to mix it up. It's only week 3.
There are so many choices to be made, and one player or one person who doesn't always get the credit they deserve is the person not on the board themselves, the coach. Standing by is the guy trying to make everything work out for Team Dignitas, their coach, Ben Rogers.
Thanks, guys. So, Ben, Misfits is the only team that doesn't have a win in the EU yet. How do you strategize, keep your players from becoming overconfident?
I mean, we prepare for every team the same, whether it's Liquid, G2, Misfits, Fnatic. We take every game as if it's the first game, game day 1. We want to start off with that victory. I mean, they may be 0-3, but they deserve the respect. They're a team, they're here in CRL, so we see how it goes.
We'll see. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. Ben Rogers giving a little insight as to how the coaches plan and think about these really intense matchups, setting their lineups, making their card bans, making deck choices, all part of the strategy. And of course, we get a chance to listen in as they develop that idea inside the war rooms.
So boys, Misfits, I don't care what anyone says. Even if they're 0-3, they could be 3-0. We show them respect that they deserve. They're a CRL team. It's game day 1. We need our first win. We treat it exactly the same as we would G2 or Liquid. All right, boys. So the bans for 2v2, Poison and Tornado. It's what we hope for. It's what we prepared for. We know the decks. I want our first 2v2 win today, boys. All right?
Yeah.
JP, Balloon and Fireball. Again, he doesn't want the same as last week with Matt 01. So you've got your decks. We're prepared. We'll go out there and win this again, boys, yeah?
Yeah. Let's go.
On 3, boys. 1, 2, 3. Dig win!
Okay, so guys, don't worry. I told you guys so many times, if you lose or if you win, it doesn't matter at this point. Okay, we may have lost a few games, but it doesn't matter, okay? We're just gonna win this game, we're just gonna give it everything today, and I'm sure we can take this. So be ready, just play whatever we talked before, and I'm sure we can do this. Okay guys, let's do this.
The time for talk is done. It is now time for fingers to slide cards from decks into our handheld battlefield. You know, Clash Royale. 2v2 combatants enter the arena!
And the pairs making their way to the podiums. Dignitas choosing to go with the same lineup, Max Lamanas and Wonka. Misfits making yet another change, that one guy in Pepe.
Yeah, Wonka and Max Lamanas are really looking for their first set win here in 2v2. And on the other side, despite Pepe, or excuse me, that one guy, besides them winning the match or the set last time in 2v2, they're switching it up to bring Drege over to 1v1. I think they're looking for him to bring more of a powerful force to that 1v1 side.
And of course, a live set of ban cards for all of 2v2. No surprises here. We've seen this a bunch, Poison and Tornado.
Yeah, like we said last match, two of the most powerful cards in defending in this meta. No surprise. I think it's great bans always.
So as Andrew was noting beforehand, that one guy mixed with Reggae got the victory, the clean sweep in 2v2 in their last matchup, making some changes here, trying to shore up their 1v1 game. But across from them, Max Lemonas and Wonka, they've gone to 3 games both times, but haven't got the set victory.
Yes, it's so important for a team to set the tone at the beginning of the match by winning that 2v2. That's why they were so focused on it in the war room.
Here we are, 2v2 on its way. Misfits at the top of your screen, Dignitas at the bottom.
A lot of common cards here in 2v2 that we're used to seeing on all sides of the board.
And a quick Goblin Barrel, followed by the Fireball.
Wow.
Misplay,
Missed
though,
Fireball.
not picking up the Flying Machine.
Throw that Elixir in the garbage. That was a miss and a whiff.
And you can see how quickly that Flying Machine does damage on the right-hand side. Yes, the Goblin Barrel's doing their work on the left for Dignitas, but you gotta think they're feeling the hurt from missing that Fireball.
Yeah, it never feels good to miss a spell like that. And you immediately see here with Misfits, they don't have a great response to a log bait deck. They don't have log. Oh, there it is. They only got 1.
And now a ton of Goblins working to make up for that graveyard, mitigating a lot of the damage, but still down to under 1,700 is the left-hand tower of Dignitas.
Yeah, that baby dragon doing its splash damage is always a bummer when you put troops too close to your tower and it hits the troops and your tower.
And beautiful, look at the snowball play there. The giant snowball hitting that Goblin Barrel and activating the double King Tower.
Yeah, anytime you're playing against any sort of log bait, you always want to get that King Tower activated as soon as possible, even if it means taking a little bit of damage on your Princess Tower.
So interesting, though, seeing the giant snowball in that role. Again, we've said before, not really active in 1v1. Here in 2v2, kind of playing an alternative to the banned Tornado, using to get that activation done.
Yeah, it's just got a little bit more utility to it than the arrows, and it's cheaper, which is why it's used more. Again, with this Flying Machine, you saw Dignitas putting their Inferno Dragon too high at the river so the towers didn't connect with it. That Flying Machine is so hard to track when it's going to start hitting your tower.
And the Princess in the back doing some cleanup duty. We are approaching double Elixir time. Things are pretty much neck and neck.
I feel that Dignitas has a slight match advantage here because they've got a great way of getting direct damage on that tower, and Misfits have no way of resetting a miner's focus. Whether it's an Ice Spirit or whether it's going to be an Electro Wizard or a Zap, they don't have it.
Although here is the big question. How much will that double activated King Tower play a role as they are trying to get that tower damage?
As you can see, it's already making a substantial difference. It makes it so you don't have to allocate as much Elixir to defend. You can probably use half as much.
And there is a properly played Fireball, but now we have the Graveyard Freeze. The Valkyrie here making a rare appearance since this week's update. You know, we've noticed that Royal Hogs have been around a bunch. Oh, and wait, hold on 1 second. The Magic Archer doing some work. Will it get more damage on the tower? Yes, it does.
This is the cannon cart.
Huge play here. That left-hand tower now in spell range with just 10 seconds left. Unless Dignitas does something crazy, this first game should be in the books.
Yeah, this is going to be a Dignitas win for sure, right there with the Fireball coming in. Just expertly played. Excuse me, Misfits win. I apologize.
Misfits grabbing the game out to a nice early lead. Of course, Misfits has not yet won a match, but this is a great way to start if that's your goal.
I mean, it's so imperative to notice how these micro interactions change a game immediately. It felt like Dignitas had control of the match the entire time, but a couple misplays, and all of a sudden they are back against the ropes.
It's two little things. It was that giant snowball pushing the Goblin Barrel onto the King Tower, making it so much harder to get damage with those small troops, with the Miner, with those Goblin Barrels. And then, as you just saw there in the replay, that Magic Archer just not quite picked up by the cannon cart, and that might have been the entire difference, Andrew.
And you also got to wonder if that missed Fireball came into play later on in the match. That's a 4 Elixir deficit that is never going away.
And game number 2 on its way. Now it's Misfits in control with a 1-game lead in 2v2. And you have to think they would feel pretty great heading into 1v1 with a win with Reggae there to try to clean that up.
Absolutely. It's always nice to have a little bit of cushion here in competitive gameplay. Dignitas, however, really wanting to take the first 2v2 set. Let's see if they can turn it around.
Well, you got to think it was just those two or three little differences. Of course, the giant snowball, the missed fireball, the cannon cart not being with the magic archer. Then the toss was so close. But again, as you mentioned, it's those tiny interactions that change everything.
Exactly. Those micro interactions compiling turns a small mistake into a lost game.
And the Prince taking care of the magic archer right at the bridge. And there is a perfectly placed fireball.
Exactly. Hitting the skeleton, killing the flying machine. I know from playing that anytime I see a flying machine on the field or a magic archer, I need to fireball it quickly. Get it out of the way.
And a golem in the back for Wonka and Max Lamanas. Looks like we see on the right-hand side of your screen at the bottom what they'll support that with. I bet we'll see that get dropped here in just a moment.
A lot of spells at the top of the screen here. If you look at what they've got in hand, you wonder if that's actually going to match up well against a beatdown deck. I haven't seen something that's going to destroy a golem.
The golem now making its way across the bridge, but you see a lot of small troops picking it up. It had the distraction from the tombstone. So many things in its way. Somewhat unorthodox, but very 2v2 friendly defense against that golem.
Yes, absolutely. Guards being played by both teams here. One of the strongest cards in the game. They do so much damage, and they're not able to be zapped or poisoned out as quickly as something like a skeleton army.
The giant snowball looking to reset that Inferno Dragon on the right-hand side, but it does not do enough. The Inferno Dragon taking out both the giant skeleton and the magic archer.
Another great fireball taking out that flying machine, getting damage on the tower. Dignitas playing calm, cool, and collected, and they have taken the damage lead because of it.
Now we are in double Elixir time, playing much crisper, playing much cleaner so far to the toss, and you see the result, the left-hand tower of Misfits down to 1388.
And in this matchup, Dignitas is actually going to take the advantage in double Elixir just because they have such a strong tank. Now, the giant skeleton is a tank as well, but its health isn't even close to that of a golem.
The golem, the death damage, will do a little bit on the back, taking out that already hurt magic archer. Can the golemites get all the way to the tower? Yes, they will. They'll get damage and the death damage as well. And a nice thing, they pull that giant skeleton so far back.
Yes, so now they don't have to worry about it on defense. And you saw Misfits doing a great job of putting their flying machine on the opposite side so that it wouldn't be fireballed on top of the tower. Great little adjustment to save you from 200 damage.
And there's the graveyard freeze, but will it be enough? There are so many responses now coming from Dignitas. Seems like they are in the groove as we go into sudden death overtime. The lead on the left-hand tower down to 836.
Dignitas has great answers for that graveyard, and they're doing a wonderful job of knowing that the freeze is coming after the graveyard's placed, so they're logging a little bit earlier than normal to clean up the first round of skeletons, and then by the time the freeze is gone, the troops that they've already played can clean up the rest of them.
There's an inexpensive way to stop that flying machine in its tracks. The bats, then backed up by a Night Witch who will support the goal.
Getting that lightning on the tower. Misfits have got to be feeling the pressure, dropping that down with the miner coming in. How are they going to be able to stop this? It is within spell cycle range with that lightning and fireball.
It looks like Dignitas has game number 2 held on pretty nicely. Again, the magic archer, this time not getting the target on the tower. The fireball cleans that up.
I don't think they should have used the fireball there. I think they could have saved it and dropped it right now on top of that flying machine and taken the win. Didn't matter. They know what they're doing.
And there you go. Dignitas tying things up in our first set. It's now 2-2-2, and you can see with the fireball cleaning up the stuff at the bridge. Unnecessary to use. You had the lightning followed up with the zap. That is the game, and we are now headed to the third and final game of our 2v2 set. Will Misfits, that one guy and Pepe, bring their team one step closer getting in the win column, or will it be Dignitas who sends it to 1v1 and gives their all-star IMJP the chance to close things out?
I mean, knowing we're moving into 1v1 very soon, it is important to take this first set. Who's going to do it? Dignitas or Misfits? We're going to find out right now.
And here's the chance to change the future of both of these teams. Can Misfits get in the win column and give Reggae a nice cushion, or will it be Dignitas that does the work here in 2v2?
top of the screen here with Misfits, we're seeing something that was very, very popular in Week 1 here at CRL. Kind of took a back seat in Week 2. Let's see if it makes a strong resurgence here in Week 3.
Remember, your ban cards are Tornado and Poison, so if we do see a balloon behind those Lava Hounds, it could be very difficult to deal with, especially if that Inferno Tower gets taken down.
Very interesting first positioning on that Inferno Tower to not pick up the original Lava Hound, but grabbing the second one. Still played good defense, but I don't know if that's a misplay or if it's just if it was purposeful or not.
And the Inferno Dragon now cleaning up the Baby Dragon. Some slight damage on the right-hand tower of Max Lamanas and Wonka as they now go to counterplay with the Goblin Barrel, picked up fairly quickly by that log.
I already believe that Misfits have the match advantage in this. Now, that's not to say that Dignitas can't win, but I feel like they're going to have a really hard time stopping those Lava Hounds every single, the double Lava Hound every single time it comes down the lane. But, as you can see, the Cannon Cart coupled with the Goblin Barrel is brutal.
The Cannon Cart already such a nasty card across the board, but I feel like it gets almost kind of a weird buff in 2v2 because it can sneak behind all the kind of like the traffic that's on the board.
Yes, absolutely. And Dignitas is really, really hoping for their very first 2v2 set win, setting the pace moving into the rest of this match.
A reminder, Dignitas has now gone to 3 games twice in 2v2, has not picked up the set, and here we go. This time the Inferno Tower picks up both Lava Hounds.
Yes, exactly what I was talking about. So it was a bit of a misplay early on. Just a slight one tile over. It happens to the best of us, happens to the worst of us. That Princess, though, is always going to clean up those Lava Pups really well.
A bit of a juke barrel attempt by Dignitas on the left-hand side. The log does pick it up all the way, though, but they will still get a couple hits from the second barrel.
I love the Goblin Barrel. It's one of my favorite cards in the game because it is such a mental card. You always got to wonder, do I log early? Do I log late? Is it going to be far? Is it going to be close? I don't know, but you always got to be on your toes.
And Dignitas here doing a great job into the tower, now down to 208, and now 144 within fireball range. With 30 seconds left, it's going to be very difficult for Misfits to push all the way through and take a tower before their opponents can spell it down.
I mean, I must have jinxed Misfits here because I felt like they had a strong matchup advantage at the beginning, but clearly I was wrong. Dignitas will be taking this and taking their very first 2v2 set. Today's a good day in World of Dignitas.
There you go, Max Lamanas and Wonka finally shake off those troubles, getting their first set victory in 2v2. Very interesting note here. We saw that they were playing the double Lava Hound from Misfits, and we could see that they had the balloon. Andrew, was it a mistake not getting that balloon on the board earlier in the matchup?
You gotta think it was, right? The balloon is such a powerful card. Even if you know it's not gonna get to the tower, it is going to demand a defensive response from your opponent. Maybe just messing up their cycle, maybe setting off their elixir, but Dignitas took it, as I said, first 2v2 set for Team Dignitas. They are so excited to be walking into 1v1 with that W.
Max Lamanas and Wonka finally taking 2v2 victory and setting up the golden-haired golden boy from Barcelona, Spain, IMJP, going to come out for the 1v1 against a very dangerous Reggae.
I mean, both of these guys have been crushing it here at CRL, and I love the nickname. I think it's beautiful. The golden hair is fantastic. It fits him so well, and he is the golden boy for Dignitas here. Reggae on the other side of that is the golden boy for Misfits, but the two of them going head-to-head, who's going to come out on top?
Reminder of your stakes now. With Dignitas taking that first set, all we need is 2 game victories out of the next 3 from IMJP to clear this thing out for Team Dignitas or Misfits. Again, their backs against the wall. Can Reggae stop them from going down 0-4?
2v2 is in the books now. The time for 1v1 has arrived. Will we see a sweep or an epic rally back to even ground? Who will prevail? There's only one way to find out.
And the players taking their podiums, of course, IMJP clutched his last 2 in King of the Hill against SK, doing a great job for his team.
Momentum and confidence, such an important thing in this game. Both of them riding it with Reggae also coming off a great win last week. Dominant performance. I think these guys are so ready to go. They were so focused before the match.
Andrew, look at these ban cards. Fireball, no surprise there. Interesting, hasn't been banned often here in 1v1, but Balloon off the board.
Yeah, Fireball showing its ban much more popular in 2v2. Balloon, you and I have talked about this regularly. I hate losing to a Balloon. It is so brutal. It can come in the last 10 seconds of the match and just take you out of it. So, great ban with the Balloon and the Fireball. Let's see how that comes into play here.
And we will see right now in 1v1. One more reminder, Reggae from Misfits at the top of your screen. At the bottom, Dignitas' IMJP.
Yes, they've got to be so happy to see those two Dignitas logos on our scoreboard on the left side of the screen. Let's see if they can make the sweep.
And Ice Golem out for Reggae early, followed by the E-Wiz, the Royal Ghost down for IMJP.
Most likely a graveyard iteration on top of the screen. Could even be a splash yard iteration. But on the bottom of the screen, maybe a Magic Archer Giant deck?
Magic Archer Giant, we have seen that here so far today. A nice combination when played correctly.
Yes, and also a great pre-log. Didn't quite hit what he wanted. Royal Ghost still got to the tower, but that is the type of predictive gameplay that makes these guys pros.
So far, a fairly inexpensive deck for IMJP. You know, I've been playing a little bit of trying to get Magic Archer cycle behind a Giant, both defensively by itself or behind the Giant offensively, and a couple quick cards there really help you get that on the board.
Yeah, I mean, we're running 100% graveyard deck here on the top, and as you're talking about Magic Archer, really one of the highest skill cap cards in the entire game. When used ineffectively is a waste of Elixir. He gets eaten up quickly, can get spelled out, but when used effectively, that card is dangerous, nefarious, and so powerful.
So far, a lead on the left-hand tower from IMJP, getting it down to 18-02. But it's Reggae who does have a little bit of pressure on both sides.
Yeah, interesting deck here from IMJP. We haven't quite seen his win condition yet. I am feeling it's got to be a Giant, or I feel like there's got to be a tank in his deck. I could be surprised if he drops a Battle Ram. Interesting to say the least, though.
And now the Mega Minions meeting at the bridge, but with the Ice Golem in front, it's Reggae's who will take the victory there. And again, that poison keeps on coming down from Reggae, not just doing tower damage, but also taking care of that Magic Archer when it's in the backfield.
Yes, and on the other side of it, you got IMGP holding on to his poison now because he knows that Reggae is playing a graveyard deck.
So still the tower damage lead on the left-hand side from IMJP.
Looks like IMJP here might be starting to mount a push on the right-hand lane, maybe. We're not sure, but he's definitely not having a good time trying to break through in that left side.
Interesting using the poison there offensively, and there you see the graveyard as an immediate response.
Yes, absolutely. That Mega Knight being a great tank for the graveyard. Mega Knight actually is another one of my favorite cards in the game, finding its way back into the meta after its slight buff. But I do still feel that IMJP has a bit of a matchup advantage here.
Take a look at that, though. You saw a nice pickup. Despite not having the poison in response, it's the Mega Minion and, okay, Royal Hogs now coming down from IMJP.
Yeah, interesting use of the Hogs there. I personally believe that was a misplay by IMJP. You got to keep track of your opponent's cycle. If they play 3 cards after playing Mega Knight, that means it's back in cycle, and that Mega Knight is going to destroy your Royal Hogs. And that's it. You can't do that. You can't send Royal Hogs into a Mega Knight. It's just not the way to do it.
The poison down to clean up a lot of that graveyard, but the damage is done down to 240. Now here you go. But again, picked up by a very inexpensive
and
card.
a Mega Knight.
Making room for that Mega Knight with the Tombstone.
Wow.
Really fantastic play right now from Reggae. The left-hand tower in sudden death overtime for IMJP down to 240. Really in a bad position. If that Mega Knight gets on it, this is going to be it. And there you go.
Absolutely. He knew that was the game. That Mega Knight, the very first time he played those Hogs into the Mega Knight, set up a horrible cycle moving forward in the rest of the match.
And here we see that first Mega Knight jumping onto the tower. The poison just a little bit too late. Earlier in the match, I'd mentioned that he had picked up the graveyard by using that combination of the Magic Archer and the Mega Minion. We got distracted there for a moment by the Royal Hog play.
Yes.
But here you go. The poison, still a great card, but not going to do anything about that Mega Knight.
Yeah, the Mega Knight, once it breaks through, the thing about the Mega Knight is it's so great at counter push potential, and as you saw, you send those Royal Hogs in, Mega Knight comes down, you have so much Elixir on the field to defend against.
So here we go, Reggae 1 game away from sending this thing to King of the Hill. Can IMJP stop it? And we are into game number 2. Reggae at the top of your screen. I am JP at the bottom.
Throwing up the cry symbols, feeling the pressure. He knows that Dignitas really want to take the W today. On the other side of that, you got Misfits feeling that first win at the edge of their fingertips.
It's right there. We have, not just do we have Reggae versus IMJP and Misfits versus Dignitas, this is Madrid versus Barcelona, a matchup for the ages.
Yeah, that's got to definitely have a lot of weight behind it. Notice the Goblin barrel placement that he did. It's a very small move, but when the Goblin barrel is placed one tile down to the right or left, depending on the tower, it can't get NATO'd to the King Tower for activation. Really important when you're playing a bait-type deck. Wow, we're just going to let that Baby Dragon go to town on that tower.
Baby Dragon just hanging out there, making a home on the right-hand tower, getting IMGB down to 1107. But, you know, you kind of think when he's sitting there, he's accepting maybe that damage and plan on making a counter push.
Yeah, he definitely was accepting the damage. He was trying to get back the elixir deficit that he put himself in. With a log bait type of deck with these small troops, you don't want to have that massive of a damage deficit in the beginning, though. He's going to be playing from behind the entire rest of the game.
One more reminder for you as we move into the midway point of this regulation time, your ban cards, Fireball and Balloon.
That Dark Goblin getting a lot of utility on the map. Very, very powerful card when left undefended.
And a big push coming on the right-hand side for IMJP, but great pickup, a mixture of the P.E.K.K.A. and the Goblin gang from Reggae.
Yeah, a really interesting, maybe a new meta or off-meta logbait deck here ran by IMJP. We've seen Bandit in the new meta here a good amount because logbait has changed since Tesla got that little bit of a nerf. Nerf is when you make a card a little weaker because it's overpowered. And it appears that he is not going to be able to get a lot of damage on that tower.
So many powerful splash damage troops there, a lot to clean up with. Although, you know, you're not seeing log from Reggae, which is usually the typical response for that Goblin barrel.
Yes, absolutely. He's doing a great job of dropping his Goblin gang. If you pre-drop your Goblin gang, it can pick up all 3 Goblins without taking any damage. He was just a hair late on that one because he had to get down the P.E.K.K.A.
And the Princess using that cross lane shot, taking care of the P.E.K.K.A. when combined with the Ice Wizard. Such a nasty combination.
Yeah, the P.E.K.K.A. going against an Ice Wizard and the opponent also having Goblins means that P.E.K.K.A. is almost never, ever going to break through to that tower.
But breaking through the tower now is IMJP getting the right-hand tower of Reggae down under 900 hit points.
Right, but at the same time, he left up his defenses in the left side lane, and then now they're basically tied.
Pretty much a tie on those 2 towers, but don't forget IMJP's right tower down to 1107. As we are in sudden death overtime now, he is forced to defend in both lanes.
Absolutely, which is not a place you want to be in. Seeing that Reggae drops the Dark Goblin, so it's going to move down the other lane to get some chip damage. He's got to respond to it or take that 400 damage. This is an excellent play of splitting your opponent's focus and Elixir.
And the Princess does get to the bridge, gets only 1 shot off though. The Royal Ghost played high and quick, taking care of most of that damage. But could this Goblin gang get through in time?
Here's the thing is he doesn't need much more damage. He needs a rocket and a log on top of that tower, it looks like, and I believe it'll take it out. Maybe he's just a few damage away. This Goblin barrel, if connecting, will do it though. Now he's within spell range. You gotta think that's a rocket. Wow!
That is it. Unbelievable. Fantastic to slide in there and get the damage. It looked like IMJP was in trouble, but he steals it away in the closing moments. I want to see what was the final bit of damage that closed the thing out.
Princess. The Princess hitting that P.E.K.K.A. The P.E.K.K.A. dropped just a little too close to the tower, obviously wanting to stop the Royal Ghost, but that means he's going to stop the Royal Ghost at the tower. The Princess is going to get splash damage.
Looked like there was also 1 Goblin left from the barrel behind the tower. I think that might have been the Coup de Gras shot closing this thing up. And here we are, all tied up 1-1. The match hanging in the balance. Can Dignitas once again close this thing out? Or will Reggae be the hero and send us to King of the Hill?
This is why we watch. It's for drama like this. 1-1 in this set. Let's see who's going to take this.
Game number 3 of 1v1. This is what it's all about. Who will make the right choices, who will make the right plays, and whose nerves are steely enough to carry the pressure.
Yes, nerves are a huge factor in a game like this. Everyone's watching. Who is going to make the mistake?
Both these guys, though, are so clutch. IMJP, of course, getting the last 2 wins of King of the Hill against SK to give his team their first victory. But don't count out Reggae, who, of course, is the got second at Winter Orange Cup, the 8-0 CRL qualifier. And, of course, here at CRL, he took out both Lupanji and Doberman in King of the Hill.
Yes, absolutely. You see this Hog Rider coming in. His deck could have been a Mortar deck, could have been a Hog Rider deck, and I really like the composition that he has made up here. It's going to be all about stopping that Hog Rider for IMJP, but he has an Inferno Tower in hand, so maybe, just maybe, Reggae is going to have a really hard time getting through.
And we're seeing some faster matchups here in this week 3 of our 1v1 competition. A lot of the games were fairly slow playing games we saw in weeks 1 and 2, kind of a picking up the pace here.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just a confidence thing or maybe they're realizing that they don't want their opponents to be able to get the cycle that they want, get in the comfortability zone that they want. They want to keep them on their toes against the ropes, as we keep saying.
And here we are seeing Graveyard from IMJP. Andrew, when you're looking at that deck, is that the card you expected as the win condition?
You know, I saw the Mega Minion in the Ice Golem first, so that's what I thought. And then with the guards on top of that, I kept thinking maybe it's another Graveyard type of deck. But then seeing the Musketeer and the Inferno Tower, kind of similar to the deck we saw, I believe it was...
earlier today.
Yeah, earlier today. Yeah, whoever it was running that deck. It didn't work too well for him. Maybe it will for IMJP.
Well, so far, as we approach double Elixir time, IMJP out to a lead in this 3rd and final game. Both towers of his opponent down to under 1,700 hit points.
Yeah, you see the WoW coming out from IMJP. Definitely not expecting a P.E.K.K.A. in that deck as well. Really, really odd deck synergy from Reggae, but hey, it might pay off.
Well, right now, the Graveyard paying off for IMJP, getting that right-hand tower down to under 1,000 hit points. If he can stop this push here, he might be in a great position to close things out. But here we go, an opposite lane Hog. Will it get more than one swing on the tower?
Yeah, great use of that Hog, seeing that IMJP played his Inferno Tower to stop the P.E.K.K.A. However, he's still got guards and bats. He's still got guards which do so much damage against a Hog.
The Graveyard down on the right-hand side. The Goblin gang there to pick it up, but the poison clears it out. And there you go, IMJP taking the tower down with under 8 seconds left. Yep. That's going to be it. IMJP closing things out here in set number 2 and getting the 2nd victory for Team Dignitas.
Wow, yeah, the high Inferno Tower there, kind of the nail in the coffin for Misfits. And Misfits, you got to feel for the guys playing so well, but just cannot get their first W here in CRL.
And here we go again. You saw trying to clean up that Graveyard was the Goblin gang, but with the poison down as well, they are quickly cleared out of the way, and that's going to be it. The Hog Rider from Reggae just couldn't really find its way to the tower.
Yeah, and what you gotta recognize is that every single one of his troops to stop a Graveyard is poisonable. You need one that can outlast that poison to keep it alive, or at least drop it outside of a poison and pick him off like a Dark Goblin or something.
Your winner, IMJP, showing once again why he's really coming out as the anchor here for Team Dignitas. And he's starting to build quite a resume, taking a lot of people's pink slips and put him in his back pocket. Such fantastic play. More great performance from Team Dignitas, moving up the standings now with 2 wins and 1 loss, climbing towards into those ever so important top 4 spots.
Absolutely, they are now in that golden top 4. But Misfits is now in the very, very bottom at 0-4. You wonder, can they come back in this season and make it to the top 4?
And we'll be back with more action in the European region on Thursday and Saturday. You can tune in both of those days at 9 p.m. Central European Time.
And do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to esports.clashroyale.com, or, of course, go in-game over to your news tab. Click on Esports for all the updates.
It's been a fantastic day in the arena. Can't wait to see you on Thursday. For Andrew Guy, I'm Rich Slayton. See you in CRL.
Bye.
Today was a day to remember. Ah, the memories. Remember that time when the tower went down? Ooh, that was epic. One thing I know for sure, we are seeing the very best in the world playing at the highest level. The Clash Royale League is now in full swing, but there are still many sets and many games on the road to the World Finals. If you don't want to miss a thing, all you need to do is subscribe. That's all. It's pretty easy. And remember, if there's no meta to follow, all you need to do is to create your own